Hello and welcome to the first masterclass. I only had this idea during the middle of the course and I'm really excited to start bringing them to you. I think it's just going to be a really nice way of continuing the education and just having a good old chat and making sure that we are really still in flow with everything, because 8 weeks is massive, but it's also a really small part of the journey as a whole. So someone asked me this during the course, and so I thought it was really important to address it because it's something that we all come up with at some point of our journey, particularly if you're not supported financially at home completely. So what we are talking about today is how to integrate from working full-time and study into clinic full-time, and making that cut. It can be hugely triggering, right? And we know that. It triggers all your money stuff, it triggers all your safety things. You have to take full responsibility. You have to be ready for that. You have to be ready for failure. And look, there's going to be people who say, look, this is the right way to do it. This is what it should look like. The truth is that it can be flexible, right? You can go into clinic full time and then get another job a year down the track and then come back to clinic full time. Like that's my kind of one big tip, is that this thing is fluent, right? This clinic thing, this professional thing, this business growing thing, if you let it be fluent, then you will flow with whatever comes through with you, for you, and through different times of your life. And if we can do that without guilt or without shame, even better. Amazing, right? There is no reason why we need to have guilt and shame in the way of our businesses, right? It's meant to look how it looks for you. It's like parenthood. There's no two parents that function completely the same, even in a partnership. It's like everybody's got their strengths and everybody has something that they contribute to their relationship, and that's the same with your business. Oh, sugar, I'm so sorry. Where are we? I thought I'd put that on hold. Hang on. Sorry, I'm just going to try and find you again. There you are. Sorry about that. So there's two things here. So one is the movement from study into clinic, and how that looks financially, and how that looks in terms of how do you make that transition. And so when I started clinic, it took me 7 years to get full time in my clinic. And there were periods in that 7 years which I let go of all other work and then focused solely on clinic. And there were times that I found other work and supported my clinic. So I started off slowly. So I feel like that is, energetically, that's the best thing. And when you're working with new people all the time in clinic, it can be really draining. Whereas when you've a few years down the track and you're seeing the same people that you have for years, and then you've got just a new one kind of scattered in here and there, it's a lot less energetically draining, so you can see more people. So I feel like it's a familiarity, not only in the way that you work, but with your client base as well. And also there is, when you get to a point where there's word of mouth, it's like 80% of the work is done by the time someone comes into your clinic, because they already trust you. They're already willing to change. They've got the support of a system behind them that's already referred them to you. And so it's just a whole lot easier. So when you're first starting out, it's a lot more clunky and it does take more energy. It's like anything, right? It's not a well-oiled machine yet. It's still new. So it takes more energy to get things going. So you're going to be probably working less in clinic. And if you are seeing a full day straight off the bat because you find yourself in that position, be prepared that might at times feel overwhelming and you might need a day off here and there, or to schedule in a business building day or something like that, because it can be quite hard to keep up with that. It's not natural in our industry to see 7 new people a day. We need to break that up with some sort of just cruisiness, I guess, particularly when you're so focused all day long. So when you first start working, you're probably going to be working half a day a week, or a couple of half days a week, or a full day. You don't want to put out there that you're available any day, anytime. It scatters you too much, and you lose track of where you're at in the week. You have no rhythm for yourself. But it can, if you're putting out to someone who's busy and who's in overwhelm, if you just say, okay, what time of day suits you? It's almost like that's just an extra question that they have to ask themselves that they're unsure about at that moment. So I found it a lot easier for people if you suggest 2 or 3 times. So I've got a Monday at 2 o'clock or a Friday at 9 a.m. Which one suits you? And then I go on neither or. That's okay. Okay, let's find another one, and you put 1 or 2 options out at a time for people. And that helps them just anchor, and you make sure that they don't scatter away at that point. But so when you first start from study into clinic, it's that slow, gradual building, half a day, a full day. Even if you schedule in another half day a week or another day a week for your own self-development day, business development day, whatever you want to do that day, reflection, meditation, vision, building marketing things, building a workshop or a passive income stream, it's kind of up to you, but having that extra time for business as well as clinic can be really handy as well. And then we have to talk about the financial survival part, because it's not really until the business starts generating a profit that you can pay your wage out of it. And that can take a couple of years as well, depending on how much you have to output at the first time. So when I started, I actually completely financially supported myself so that my clinic could be separate. I'm sorry. I'm all over the shop today, aren't I? I'm sorry. And so we've got that. So I could be more flexible with my clinic because I wasn't depending on that to pay any of my bills. And that can be a really handy place to get to, because 1, it kind of just frees up that energetic space for you. But 2, anything that you earn from it, you get to put back into the business, and create also some savings if you want to, or remember that there's probably tax that needs to come out, or there's more insurances or training or registrations or clinic rent, all this. So you've built yourself a bit of a buffer. So if you can support yourself with another job, that's really, really handy while you're building. And there's no shame in that whatsoever. The biggest part, I think, comes for people as well. If it's not financial, it tends to be that energetic switch. So tacking clients on to after a day of work can, it might seem okay, oh yeah, I can do an extra couple of hours, but transitioning from one headspace into another to a whole new client base, which is already new to you, it being in clinic, it can be a little bit too much. So if you do it on a Saturday or have a half day off work, whatever you can kind of wrangle, and let it build. It's okay to let it build slowly. It's okay to let this take time. Even in my new clinic, it took me 2 years to get full time again, right? Because that's just how long it takes for really good word of mouth to get out there, and people will hear you over and over and over again, and they'll meet you over and over again before they come in for a session. And it was also, I guess, about me settling into a new place and a new feel as well. But that's another thing. Just let it take time. The other thing I really wanted to point out was that in every one of my transitions I've made, I've known that that transition is coming for a long time. So it's not just a case of one day I wake up overwhelmed and then I say, okay, that's it, it's all done, and I make that transition, that jump. It's like, okay, one day I wake up overwhelmed, I think I can handle it. The next day I wake up overwhelmed, I think I can handle it. I'm not saying my way is the right way because I tend to resist things. So you don't have to do it my way. But what I'm trying to say is that it does take time, and it does, you do know that a shift is coming a long time before it's actually right to take that step. So you can know that, okay, I've got to get out of this job. And it can take a few months before that day comes and you're like, it's time, right? But if you make that decision within yourself, I'm leaving my job soon, then it's almost like the universe will start to conspire to support you. So you've made that decision in yourself, you just don't know when it's going to happen yet. And then eventually what I found, not only for myself but for other people, is that things will start to happen. Situations will come in or leave, or disruptions will happen and it might be as well you just letting go of things and not feeling as invested in that job. That the path will start to kind of open up. So what I'm saying is it's okay to have a safe space. You don't have to put so much pressure on yourself to be full-time in clinic. It will happen if you let it happen, if you let it flow, if you give yourself time and space, if you know that there's going to be confidence knocks along the way. There's going to be times where you're overwhelmed and you don't know what to do. There's going to be times where you're screaming, this isn't working, why is it not working? I don't want to do this anymore. And they're all really normal points to get to. So let yourself get to those points, and through those points, we don't want to resist any of this. We don't want to shut ourselves down just because life gets a little bit hard. It also doesn't mean that you have to push yourself incredibly too far through that. Work within your comfort zones, take one step at a time, and eventually you will get there. And remember that when you're listening to all these stories of business building, there's this, we focus on that point where we go, wow, that was amazing, and then that happened and I was free and all this kind of stuff. Even the 4-hour work week, when you read that book, which it's that 4-hour work week's touted as like, oh, what, amazing. But he worked overtime in that business for years, burnt himself to the ground to get to that business to a point where he could work a 4-hour work week. If he just started off 4 hours a week, it would have taken a lot more time. So you have to let yourself grow. You can't force the growth period. It's going to grow when it grows. I know that's incredibly frustrating. I've been there. But if you trust that it's going to grow, and if you fully commit to, well, this is just what I'm going to do, I just need to work towards it, then you will. No matter what comes your way, you're going to twist that into the story of, okay, this is building my business in some way. Even if, you go through a period of 6 months or 12 months where your business is doing really well, and then it gets quieter all of a sudden, it might be time for you to learn a new skill or to do another job for a while to take pressure off, or refocus yourself, and go back into, that other paid work. You don't know what opportunities that's going to bring up for you as well, or what learnings or what part of you that's going to wake up. So, really trust it. There's just way too many times, and this again is a huge part of the reason why I got the Practitioner Table started, is that it gets tough and it's not working, and you blame yourself too much, and you want to, it's that point where you want to exit the job, you just want to be doing what you love, but it's not working. And what I'm going to say to you is that with fear, we can either restrict or we can recognize the fear and look for the opportunity, right? And this is the thing that took me 7 years to realize, is that every time I felt fear and overwhelm in my business, rather than, well, actually not every time because I did grow, but a huge part of that slow learning was that I would shut down or switch off or half do something. I'd kind of put something out there, but then not really invest proper time and energy into it. And so it took a long time for me to make that switch from, oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed and I'm shutting down and I'm feeling tired all of a sudden. I'm going to give myself a couple of days of rest. And if that tiredness doesn't shift, then I'm going to know that that's a block, and I'm going to move through it and push through it and look for my opportunity and creativity and start feeding my soul again with passion, so that I can look and create and take the next opportunity that comes to me. And again, making that transition from work and study into clinic full time, there's going to be periods where you feel overwhelmed. There's going to be periods that you feel like it's not working, and you can either shut yourself down with fear for that, or you can tap into the creativity and look for opportunity. Again, work within your comfort zone, partner with someone if you need to, or go on a bit of a brainstorming day, or go for a walk in nature, whatever it is for you to reconnect to just your joy and your passion and what flows naturally for you. And then your clinic will flow again, I promise. The other thing that I've got written down here is the having to do things right. And I don't have this one. And, I've kind of, it's just, I think that's why I've been able to build so easily, compared to other people I know, is because I don't really believe in a right way of doing things. I don't care if you give me a set of rules that should be followed. I'm going to feel into those and see which ones are right for me at that time. And I'm not blindsiding myself. I'm aware of them and I know I'll get to them. But right now it's going to look imperfect. It's going to look imperfect. You're not going to have all of the I's and T's dotted and crossed necessarily, all the time. There's going to be things that fail, and there's going to be juggles, and there's going to be fires you have to put out, and there's going to be little failures along the way. But that is what life is. And if we try and avoid that, then we avoid life and we avoid growth, because growth is messy and growth is intuitively based, and growth is given to us. It's not for us to determine. If there's blocks in our way, then don't switch it like completely off, but just go, okay, there's a block there. Is there another opportunity here, or is it time to rest, right? You don't have to have every piece of paperwork and qualification and, keep adding a paper trail to yourself in order to avoid diving into the real stuff. You have to be really careful with that, because it's that fine line. You have to do some of it, obviously, but if you keep putting all those paper trail pressures on yourself, you're never going to get to the good stuff. And clinic is mostly about real life experience. It's not about necessarily what you've learned. A lot of what I've learned comes from my clients and comes from experience with them and comes from research after I'd seen them. It's real life learning that happens. And this is why we get so many people from psychology and everything. It's because we have to go through the stuff for ourselves. As a natural therapist, we're often on our own journey with things. And so we learn about the messiness of life. We learn to accept that and embrace that. And it's okay to do that with your business as well. So you have to let your intuition and step with your intuition boldly, without always putting that paper, necessary paper right as a block in the middle of it. Let those things be supportive to you rather than in your way. How are we going, guys? Do we have any questions? I feel like I've shot out a ton of information, and that's what these masterclasses are for. So let me know what you want the next masterclass to be on, and I'll get it out to you in the next. I'll try and do these once a month, I think. But if you have any questions as well, feel free to post them on the Getting Serious in Clinic Facebook page. Remember that I've got the membership there as well. And that's got this beautiful resource of trauma at the moment. It's got business stuff there as well. It's got mindset stuff. So the CPE point stuff is all about trauma and the steps that you can take with working with trauma, how not to be afraid of it. That's all in the membership. Highly valuable. I'll have a new topic out there soon too, so that'll have research papers and everything, but the membership's gorgeous. But again, thank you so much for listening, and if you have any questions, let me know, and I will speak to you guys soon. Bye.